think Classic is the strongest Protoss in the world right now, so this might be one of Serral's biggest tests in this tournament. And it looks like the game is just about to start.
So we're going to be going into our first map, everybody. This is a best of 5, and probably it's going to be a pretty long and dramatic best of 5. Probably a lot of macro games here, as two of the greatest macro players in the 15-year history of StarCraft 2 are going head-to-head to see who will advance to the next stage here of the Esports World Cup.
Oh, man. Cannot wait. What's your prediction, Tasteless?
I think Classic 3-2.
Oh, that's what I think, too. Oh, we were meant to be.
Oh, wow. This is gonna be
you and me together forever, Tasteless.
Bottom left in the red, he is Classic. And his opponent here in the top left in the blue, it is Serral. In a Korea versus Finland match. It's interesting, when Classic won the GSL in one of the interviews before he actually took the whole thing, he mentioned that, you know, last time he was on top of the world was a decade ago. It's easy to forget how long ago that actually was.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he is a long-standing high-end Protoss, and like honestly, he was like the best Protoss in the world back then. You know, he's come back obviously, and he's had some good results here and there. Really, this year he's peaking again, which is really, really nice to see. You know, I always thought that he could, but it's great to see these guys come out of the military and actually regain some of that former glory.
Yeah, it's cool that we've gone on for long enough where, you know, in Korea, all the professional players have this mandatory military service where they have to serve. And they're not allowed to make money, and that includes from pro gaming. And so, historically in Korea, a lot of the Koreans and basically fans around the world kind of assume that once you go to the military, because of that time off, you're going to be too old to compete and not viable when you come back. And we've learned in the long history of StarCraft, all the way back from StarCraft 1, which is about 27 years old now, into StarCraft 2, which is about 15 years old, you can come back and play in your older age and apparently be one of the greatest players in the world, as we see here with Classic.
Yeah, and that's more of a recent development as well. Actually, the first player to come back successfully from military in StarCraft 2 was DRG.
Right.
And that was not that many years ago, right? That was 4 years ago or so?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, it's really great to see because we never have to permanently lose these great pros anymore, which is really nice.
And it's also so cool to see that we have these macro Protoss players that have come back in a period where it almost seemed like macro might have been a trend that had been solved by Terrans and Zergs, where it's like, well, they could try to play that, but maybe it's the hardest way to approach the game.
Yeah.
And really, it's about trying to play a long game where you do everything perfectly versus trying to come in here and do something cheesy or throw them off or fake them out with some tech that's actually a.
I gotta correct the way that you said it, just because like I think there's a better way, Tasteless.
Yes.
Although you are technically correct, it's not that the macro is harder; it's that the cheesing is easier.
Yes, I like that. Okay, the first Adept is out on the map. This is Stargate tech, which is normal. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a macro game or a cheesy game. It's just one of the standard routes we see in the matchup. We have the Adept coming in here. It's not going to get drone kills. Pushing in, seeing, okay, how many drones are there in this position, as the Oracle is going to be starting back at home. I imagine we're going to see a couple of Adepts, a couple of Oracles, a third base. You know, Classic specifically in this matchup tends to not try anything other than poking, scouting, occasionally getting workers if he can, without ever overextending.
Well, that's how you end up losing a lot of games, man, is overextending. More than anything else, probably. More games, I think, are won through solid defense than great offense.
I think so. So the first Oracle is out. The second one is on the way here. And basically, Classic needs to confirm that there's nothing weird and out of the ordinary going on here.
All right, the Oracle going to fly in and be pushed away pretty quickly there. And not any real damage dealt as of yet. Time for that third Nexus to get started. A couple of Adepts coming down and taking their standard positions. We'll see if Serral dives on that. He did make a decent group of Zerglings, but you know, normally you do have between the Oracles and the Adepts enough to hold this, but the Oracle's going in for another dive. So Serral, he has some potential here.
The first two Oracles are going to come up. They're going to be able to, I guess not, actually snipe the drone that was on the move out there. Instead, they're going to get a triple kill. Glide over here to the back. The Adepts are positioned in between the minerals so that the Zerglings can't get the surface area, but this is actually a lot of Lings, and these Oracles aren't going to quite get back home. This is a pretty masterful little sneaky attack here from Serral, because normally Zergs have a little bit less lings. So even though Serral loses the drones here, Classic has to go all the way back home. This is a lot of damage on the Nexus. And, you know, the Oracles, look, some of that's going to be permanent because he did shoot through the shields there. So I like this overall here for Serral.
Yeah, that was a good move. That was a good move. Don't forget that, you know, he did end up losing 3 drones to the Oracles in that time. So it's like, okay, you know, he also had to warp in a couple more Adepts, so he ended up losing 4 Adepts, a couple more Adepts warped in. Yeah, I mean, I think it was still pretty good for Serral overall. In the meantime, getting his melee attack, going into the layer as well as a 4th in that top right that you see very, very oftentimes. And now a Roach Warren coming up.
So the Oracle going to come through here. It does spot the layer. And, you know, these are one of these, sorry, this is one of these slow cook games. Both sides are very focused on development. Both sides are trying to hit every mark, get every worker out perfectly, don't get supply block, don't miss an Overlord, tech up. And games like this, they tend to ramp up on a crazy level the further along that you get. The Zerg expansion pattern is gliding across the top of the map. And one way to think about this map is, you know, from bottom to top is almost like it's layers. You've got your first layer, which hugs either the top or the bottom, depending on your starting location. And then you've got the second layer, and everything in layer 2 that's a little bit further down or a little bit further up, again, depending on the spawn location, is much more pushable.
Is there a third layer?
No. Well, I guess maybe the center right, but
yeah, that 9 o'clock, that's the third layer.
Yeah.
You know what? No, I think that's an appetizer for one. We've got to battle over that one.
We actually have a lot of games where that base ends up being taken. It's kind of crazy. You would think that that base would never actually be captured. But so we've got an expansion here, actually not on that bottom layer. It's going to be at the triangle base up here.
I got to point out here, Hydralisk Den and Bailing Nest coming up, right? He has that Roach Warren, which is, you know, something that I would think is more kind of Serral-esque, but you know, more recently, like we've definitely seen from Rogue, who's had really good results against Protoss, a lot of Lingbane Hydra. You know, it's an older style, but it feels like it might have a place. Now, the thing is, if Serral tries to play a more aggressive Lingbane Hydra, will he be as good at it as Rogue is? And the thing is, Classic has been holding it more often than not. So he is actually like an expert at defense against this.
This is basically like a burst damage play.
Yeah. Where
you're going to come through here and you're going to try to ideally plow through that expansion and also go so far. If you can get the cybernetics core as well, that's the icing on the cake. And it's really up to the Protoss to have perfect engages and kind of preempt this as much as possible. And it's tough. And, you know, it doesn't come without sacrifice because the Hydras are very expensive. So are the Banes. So you basically do a huge dump in resources to not have any amazing investments later on, but to try to cripple the Protoss to simplify the game later on.
You know, so much of it comes down to the retention of High Templars, right? Like, if you can kill off a bunch of High Templars, then, yeah, you can continue to keep that pressure on and, you know, maybe end up picking up a victory pretty quickly there. But if Classic can keep those Stormy Boys alive, the cost efficiency just goes through the roof for Protoss.
That's right. Got the first Archon morphing over here.
Second Archon.
Sorry, second Archon. Thank you. We're going to have...
Because of you and me. No, it's the first one in the game, Tasteless. Come on, Tasteless.
This is where the attack's going to hit. He's maxed out. Serral needs to do this with perfection. If he can, it's possible that Classic is going to be knocked into game 2. But if Classic holds, and holds really well, it's going to be a very, very easy game after this for him. We've got a drop loading up. We've got the attack over here in the front. And the idea is that Serral's going to hit so hard in so many locations that there's nothing that Classic can do.
Yeah, this Zergling drop is actually something that Rogue showed us as well against Classic in the GSL Finals. So very cool to see that being mixed in. A couple of different, very aggressive styles coming out here for Serral. I really like the way that he's approaching this game. Now he is starting to come in. The Baneling's trying to roll, and looks like they do get stormed out, but the Zergling drop is going to reach the main base at the same time as this Lingbane Hydra attack.
And you can see the Banes coming in now. 2 Archons here in the back, and the Banes are going to roll around right over here to the workers. We've got an attack in the main as well as the natural. There is just chaos everywhere. Classic down in supply right now, has to hang on. Serral's been very conservative with the Banelings, not overextending, not letting him just get eaten up by Storm. The final push comes through. There might be enough Hydras and enough damage that with the Lings that are going to reinforce, he could possibly bust down this position.
33 probes going down is a large number, but don't forget, there are 4 Nexus. He still has 58, so the game isn't over right now, but definitely this was a good move from Serral overall. The Ling drop in the main base, I think he kind of complicated this position for Classic more than Classic's used to.
That's right, another attack's going to come in here on the side. A Storm goes down, getting a lot of value there, taking out a lot of those Banelings. The Hydra's coming in here from the top as the rest of the Hydras and Banes wrap around. The Concave here is looking really good, but the reinforcements here from Classic are barely enough.
Yeah, he's holding on, but that High Templar count, I'm not sure that it's in a very good place right now. A little bit of counter-harassment here with these Zealots, so, you know, tries to get something done, but Serral actually cleans that up very, very quickly.
He did pick up with those Overlords. I assume these are Banelings. They're going to be dropped off over here. There's a chance that Classic's not looking. Even though he doesn't have a screen anywhere else, it doesn't matter. He gets the drop, and that's going to be 15 probes.
Ooh, Serral looking so good this game. And I got to tell you, I love to see him play this more aggressive style. You know, like we were talking about before, you know, Classic is so good at the late game, the onus isn't just on him. Serral needs to think about mixing it up early, and he's just done such a good job of it here.
Yeah, he's going to have another attack that's going to come in over here. This appears to be the weaker position as the cannons go down. Serral not going to overextend, but, you know, that forces out a couple more cannons. I mean, anything you can pick at this point in time is going to be worthwhile. I think there are still drop Overlords on the right. Is that correct? On the bottom right, I think I see something down there.
Those are Banelings.
Yeah, okay, so they're not there. He's going to make Banes there. I guess some of the drop Overlords are back up north, but either way, he's going to try to set up another position. Looks like Mapu's found him up there at the very top. But with Serral maxing out, point in case, he is going to wind up for another attack.
Yeah, he's getting Lurkers ready, and Lurkers obviously against this composition that we're seeing from Classic are going to do very, very well. Now, Classic is starting some Plasma Shield upgrades. I actually saw him cancel out his +3 attack to get Plasma Shields. I think that's actually a pretty good call. He also has some Stargates, so maybe he can start to get... Yeah, there we go, Carrier on the way. So, you know, that's kind of the way that you're going to start playing at this point when your opponent is going to be going into those Lurkers. But I feel like Serral has a very good timing with this Lurker-based army where he has real potential to get more damage done and just get this game into a position where Classic is not going to be coming back.
We did get sight of a Nidus network. By the way, I love how Serral, he just trickles a couple units in. He's trying to bait out a couple of Storms and then basically get an opening here. The Lurkers are going to leapfrog forward right now. If Classic pushes too far in, he could lose quite a bit, but keep in mind, Classic supply is spiking up. We did a second ago get a shot of a Nidus network, but we don't know where it's going to go. I assume it's going to be the main. I think we have an Overlord just out of vision there. He probably can't plant that Nidus until he starts another attack. The idea is that you can only have your screen in one place at a time in StarCraft, and usually you're trying to storm, you're trying to position your army, and that's when you want to throw that down. Never mind, he's going to throw it up over here on the right.
That's kind of interesting.
Normally they do that after it fails in the main.
Yeah, no, right? The build is to actually fail in the main and then pop it up outside of the fort.
He might fail outside his base, then he makes it in the main. Oh, he's actually gone for 2 Niduses. All right, well, I guess we were both right.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so yeah, he got the first one down and actually walks some Lurkers over here. We'll be able to push those back, but it seems like the other one has been dealt with. You know, I think that's why people normally go for it in the main base first, because after the first Nidus, you're way more ready for future Niduses. The first one has the most potential.
Right, yeah.
So as soon as you hear that open, you actually look at your main base, right? That's normally where it is.
That's a good point. You'll always default if you hear that noise to over there. Keep in mind, there's no way with the Lurkers over here for Protoss to expand to the right, but Classic is going to wrap around from where his third base is and go to that area. And if Classic gets on 5 bases and stays on it, the game becomes so much more doable for him.
Yeah, entering that second layer of the cake is crucially important here for Classic.
We've got another attack going to come down here from the top. And if it hits down here, I mean, I don't know how prepared he is. You know, it's starting to get scary when you see the carriers come out.
Yeah.
Because that's really where they can punish you as you run away. You've got more damage coming out here. The interceptors, especially under the Protoss army, are basically never killed off.
Well, it looks like he is zoning out successfully, and that 5th base should be able to finish. Of course, Serral has already taken his 6, as well as that base at 9 o'clock. We do have one more base up here in the top left that hasn't been taken. I'm sure he'll take that at some point coming up. Couple Vipers on the way, getting the Flyer Carapace and some Corruptors to help deal with these air units. You know, we'll see if he wants to approach this via, like, abducting things, or is he going to try to get, you know, a bunch of parasitic bombs down? You know, we've definitely seen both of those styles utilized.
So, at this point in time, I mean, Classic's kind of gotten to where he needs to be. Zerg does look scary, especially when you consider the fact that the gold base is still not something that can be contested right now. Classic's still in turtling mode, but beginning to finish all the pieces of the puzzle. We've got the Tempest out here. We're going to have the Mothership soon. And from there, it's basically the Protoss' turn. In fact, we see a push coming up on the top of the map. Well, I guess he's going to turn around. There are some Zealots, though, hitting this gold base. Yeah.
Well, with a couple Lurkers there and the Spines going up, I think that's a really great, efficient defense there from Serral, so that Zealots aren't going to be a great answer to it. In the meantime, trying to utilize some of his extra Lurkers. And, yeah, I mean, I like the ideas here from Serral, where he's trying to poke in and prod in, but Stats is kind of on top of everything. You know, he's not really taking any damage from these. He will end up coming down, and you know, they pop an Archon or two, but most of these Lurkers will go down.
It's happening, Artosis. Classic is beginning to clear the map. The threats from Serral are disappearing. Now Serral's repositioned into a very defensive game. Small Ling attack over here, but it should be fairly inconsequential.
Yeah, throws down that cloak and really going to make it a little bit hard for him to come back. Recall as well to bring that army over and force everything away. Classic does have to keep his 5 bases up. You can't really lose a base from here and feel like you're in a good spot.
Okay, we've got to push out on the map with the Mothership. And this is where the trading becomes extremely difficult for the Zerg. Most of the game is the Protoss barely trying to keep on top of this. You know, they got the Storms, they're trying to get everything into a good position at a tight angle. Here's where it gets very, very scary.
I gotta say, I just saw a second Nidus go up over at 9 o'clock. Very kind of StarCraft 1-esque, like very defensive Niduses.
Yeah,
so you can
it's like a Defiler Nidus.
Really love to see that there from Serral. Very, very smart move. That might be able to save that base later on. Now, Classic's starting to push down this base. This could be a little bit tricky because we don't really have that ultimate late game army or what is generally considered that for Serral as of yet. He's still very heavy on Lurkers. We have seen Rogue playing that way a little bit as well in this matchup, utilizing the Lurkers as kind of the anti-High Templar, anti-Archon, and I actually think there's definitely some merit there. So what I'm most interested in watching here from Serral's point of view is as the Lurkers go down, does he remake them? Is this actually what he wants on the ground to help clear out those ground units from Classic?
I like the Zealots being spread to these different expansions. This basically forces Serral from ever getting everything that he has together because you have to have something here to position or the Zealots will punish. A push on the gold base I think is a pretty smart move. We have another Nidus, I believe, popping up over here in the center left just outside the 5th base for Protoss.
And he is going to go ahead and just evacuate with these Niduses. Gets most of the drones out, so that's kind of nice. And does bring through the Lurkers to attack this bottom left. But, you know, with that recall, of course, Protoss has a Nidus of their own, and we'll be able to clear that up.
It's a funny thing because it takes longer for Protoss to kill with these pushes than, like, let's say Terran does. Sometimes Terran could just stim and obliterate everything. But it works out nicely because of the recalls. Yeah. You basically come in there, you try to barely hold off the counterattack. Right before the counterattack kills anything that you have a value, you recall, and then it resets the push again.
Yeah. I'll tell you, without that recall, I don't know how Classic would ever win a game like this. It would just be impossible. Serral all over the place with these Niduses. I really like how he's just popping out everywhere and trying to deal damage. But when you look at the efficiency, it looks really good for Classic. It's like Serral's walking up with a bunch of Lurkers and killing some stuff, but they're getting stormed down, right? Like he's using Lurkers for like mineral-based buildings oftentimes. Now Recall coming into the main base. Huge move here. Time Warp on top of the ramp. Tons of Psystorm ready as well.
Yeah, great Psystorm there. The Archon's going to come down here and just position it away where there's no way for the Corruptors to get on top of this. So that's going to be a tech reset. The Hive is gone. Any tech he gets in here, and there's a lot of it, is going to be a long ways away before he can get it back.
Really looking fantastic here for Classic. You can see how strong his late game really is. Serral trying to remake a lot of his tech around the map. You know, he is getting that +2 Flyer Carapace, so that's good at least. has a lot of corruptors in here, and he's going to start picking off some units. So that's good. That's a type of move that he needs to do, but he needs to do that a lot for a very long time.
Yeah, and because he's in the main, suddenly this base over here is impossible to defend. So he's going to get a second free kill. Nothing on Classic side of the map has been broken, by the way. Maybe a little bit excessive for this Archon to be eating damage from that spine, but I think Classic's got his hands full for the time being. This hatchery goes down, and with a counterattack, I would imagine we could see another recall here from Classic.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if he just recalls everything back. That would kind of make some sense. But he might actually just walk down the ramp and try to break more things. Like, you see a bunch of the units there of Serral in the bottom, so why not attack a little bit more? Oh, is this your new layer? Let's take this down. Oh, is your Spire down there? Let's kill that.
Yeah.
And if Serral brings up a lot, or he thinks he's bringing up a lot, maybe you use the recall then.
I don't know if there's another Spire in the game, but the Greater Spire's over here, so that's actually going to knock out... Oh, never mind. There's one more Spire here, but it's not been turned into a Greater Spire, so killing that's going to be big. I actually think the Classic is probably going to close this game out with a win.
Oh, it definitely does look that way. It would be amazing for Serral to come back in this position. But, I mean, they are both maxed, and Serral actually has a bigger bank than Classic, technically, but he's lost a lot of buildings. The cost efficiency that Classic has been showing us has been just superb, and you can see in that picture-in-picture, a lot of harassment still going down from Classic, even though he's just kind of camping up here.
He's going to take this hatchery out again. You can see the harpooning of the Tempest and the carriers, and yes, he will get the kills on those. But the Death Ball just sidesteps this, backs up. And again, you want to be very careful. Here we go. Another beautiful recall over here to safety. And now he can go right up here to the gold face. This is hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so painful here for our Zerg player. And Classic going to be able to take out 9 o'clock pretty quickly. Those drones pathing in the wrong direction there. Serral will turn them around and save them. But Classic taking another base. And don't forget, he hasn't taken bottom right yet either. So there's still a lot of bases on Classic sides that he can mine from.
So the one spot on the map that Serral has that I don't know that Classic's going to ever really reach before this game ends is the quadrant in the top right, like the base over here that's damaged, the one down here. Center right, I think, is actually going to be poked out over and over again, even though Serral doesn't have a whole lot of other places to expand to. That's kind of, now that the whole position is shaped, that's kind of the outer, that's the periphery of expansions that are outside the Zerg's top right spot here. And, you know, the truth is, Classic's been on 5 bases, actually, excuse me, now 6 bases, and will probably take the bottom right. Classic has a very simple game from here on out.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, if you just kind of rotate back and forth, you know, just kind of zone things out from attacking you, pick off the fringe bases, the cost efficiency is just, again, it's so ridiculously high. You know, Serral, he was trying to get some damage early on, and he did. He did a good job reducing the probe count. He got some damage here and there. But Classic's late game is really, really scary. And you can see he's just controlling his army very patiently, very, very well. Look at him pull these Tempests back over the Archons. Okay, Parasitic Bomb, I do like the idea of Parasitic Bomb because everything is so clumped up. But it's going to take a lot of those. And every time you're casting one, you're in danger of losing units.
It's going to be up to one of these bases out here to finish up, and then Classic might try to push through. Classic does have superior banking right now. He's got more minerals. He's got a decent amount of gas here, but Serral can't really take advantage of the gas as much at this phase of the game. Obviously, Protoss love to make Templars, right? Make Archons, stuff like that. So when you have a lot of gas with minerals, there's so much more that you can do with it. And so for now, Classic's going to roam. I think he's going to wait for a target. You know, it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes it's almost better if you know you're in the winning position to let the hatchery finish and then just run in and kill it than to let it cancel. It can be risky, but obviously if you can just pick it off, then it's great.
Well, if you're going to run him out of minerals, if that's the game plan, why not, right?
Yeah.
It's a bigger commitment in that way. Some lurkers going through those Excel zones to come over and guard this gold base. I like that Serral's actually long-distance mining there, too, like just trying to get more than half the resources on the map this game. A few Lings attacking into that bottom right that we still don't quite have a Nexus at, but I'm sure that Classic will rectify that pretty quickly.
So he's going to play a very, very patient game here. And, you know, a lot of times in StarCraft 2, you don't just want to have a ton of cannons at a spot, but at this phase of the game, it's actually definitely the play. You know, just fortify every position. If Zerg overextends and counterattacks into a spot, they're going to be punished for it. They're going to bleed off units. We've got the Greater Spire starting again now. So there was a Dark Ages for tech in this game for the Zerg, and we're finally about to get back into that full hype tech.
Right now, these Tempests going to start nailing down these spores oh so quickly. Of course, any launches they can get onto those Corruptors are going to be very strong as well. Some Infestors coming up, some really quick feedbacks there, but you do have to be careful. Yeah, look at that. Just the dance is being won by Classic so far. And actually, you know, now that they both kind of have what are generally considered like the best late game armies that you can get, I feel like you can kind of see what I was talking about, where it feels to me like Protoss in this position, it's a little bit more straightforward how they should be playing, right? It's a little bit more straightforward how to win the game here as Protoss, where Zerg, it's very hard to take that full engage and win it.
Okay, the Lurkers are starting to work their way through this Nexus. This is oh, he's going to ditch it. I guess realizing that he didn't have enough damage there to actually kill the Nexus, decides to instead just leave. At this point in time, every Lurker is important. Any unit you see that's killed off that doesn't really extract value out of the game for that side's army is going to be a big victory there for the opposing side.
A few Zealots will be picked off there. So fast. Lurker going to be killed as well. Now, Serral just kind of going back and forth between 9 o'clock and that base right above that second layer. And trying to keep his air army in that general area, but this is opening up a possibility for Classic to either do a warp in or split off a small part of his army to maybe go and try to kill that top left base.
Okay, he's doing a lot of damage over here. He's going to be able to wipe out this the hatchery, excuse me, once again. The Broodlords are going to come through. They do have the benefit of the speed zone, but then the Protoss moves into the speed zone here as well.
Yeah.
It makes dodging the Psystorms a lot more effective. The gold base being wiped out on the right side. Serral has now leaked into the very, very upper left side, a base we haven't really given any attention to up until now in this game.
Yeah, that's going to be one that could be a little bit hard to hold on to, and this is where moves like Recall can be super, super, super helpful. We'll see how Classic wants to end up dealing with that. I think he has to have a decent idea that that's occurring. A bunch of changelings coming in. I mean, I guess I will keep you busy for a second. Yeah. You will clear those out.
You want to get rid of those. And so, with the base up, Serral rushes a huge amount of his mobile defenses over here to plant outside of that base. Classic's going to roam through the middle here. Nice fungal, only catching an Archon actually. I thought I was going to get a little bit more. Neural Parasite there on that, and he's going to get the instant kill there.
I love that. I love that combo.
Okay, we've got more gateways coming down, and the idea from Classic is that sort of like you see with Zergs historically in StarCraft 2, where they trade out a maxed out army on both sides, but then they spend all of their larvae on a new army, and maybe all the larvae after that on the new army to counter it. That's what Protoss is going to do now with insane numbers of gateways.
It's a very smart move. You might be able to go into like mass Blink Stalker or something after a big engage, and a lot of times all that's left over from either side is a bunch of Corruptors, right? So like the Blink Stalkers can be a great play there. Now, that Nidus did get up. It seems as if Classic didn't quite notice. He is starting to make some cannons over here to try to help out, but looks like Serral is going to cause some problems.
Okay, poking out the gold base once more. You know that Classic's probably eyeing expanding to there. Kind of a funky recall there. I thought that would have gotten more.
Yeah.
But he does send some of these units back over here. Now, Classic's bottom right base has been slowed down from mining, but in some ways it's not that consequential long term.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Classic's going to ever not have that bottom right base, even poking this out with the mothership. And so if you look at this from Serral's position, he's starting to dry up on his side of the map. The two bases in the top right, I think, are basically mined out, if not fully mined out. And so he has to basically rely on these bases on the outside, which are, you know, a small walk away from the expansions that are very fresh here from Classic.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to see him actually switch to the other side. Ooh, very nice Time Warp goes down. He does bring those Tempests forward, getting a lot of fungals on there. Nice Neural Parasite to help finish off some of those Tempests.
See him storm the Tempest there. That was kind of a funny look. He's going to send probes over here now, probably to start to throw pylons and cannons down if he can. Yeah, actually, just going to long distance mine. That's kind of cute. You know, just take anything that you can take away from here, even if these probes are killed on the way back. It's not going to go into the pockets of Serral.
Yeah, and you might get some of it back. And honestly, like losing probes when you have 49 and all that's left is bottom right is okay.
It's fine. It's totally acceptable.
Well, I guess he's technically still has the base right below here as well. But, you know, he doesn't have like that many bases going on right now. So I do like a little bit of long distance mining there as well.
I am a little bit worried about this base in the upper left because that's going to give Serral a lot more time in this game. And so it looks like he's going to send a push up there. He's got some Zealots coming down here. He's going to keep the Zerg honest and at least force him to defend. In the blind spot on the map, Classic is about to pounce on this base up here. It's very heavily defended, so it's going to be a lot of work for these Tempests to try to push through here.
Yeah, so he has to decide, does he stay and kill that base, or does he recall back? I think he recalls back in a second here, like leave 2 units and recall as much else back as you can, maybe? No, he's going to do the full trade. He's going to allow this base to probably fall, and it looks like he might move over and try to kill this next base as well.
Yeah, I think this is the play. And this is annoying because this base is almost mined out, so it's almost painful to make a hatchery here again. And who knows? You know, he might even just try to push all the way up here until Zerg tries to come up here and fight this directly.
He is forcing him back. There are a few Broodlords that were left at that expansion of Classic, and they will be able to finish it off. But don't forget, Classic still has bottom right. Serral is barely mining right now.
That's true. Serral's income is painfully low. Some cannons here are not able to spot the lurkers at this distance. And I think Classic has navigated this game beautifully. We're over a half hour into this. And what's happening is that Classic's bases can't quite be destroyed and denied forever. It's very Maru-esque last couple years when he was always doing exhaust play. It's so much harder for the Zerg to come in and shut down a base and lock you out of it. They can kill bases, and Protoss can kind of withdraw or counterattack and then recall and push back in. And that being said, I think for both sides, these Deathball armies are very hard to interact with.
Oh, well, for sure. If anything goes wrong, I mean, that can be the end of the game. You really do have to take a very strong engage. But I do think it's a little bit harder right now from the Zerg side. But if anyone can do it, it literally is Serral. You know, he is the best at controlling that type of army. But very, very tough to get in on top of Classic's army. Now, Classic is retaking that base. He actually has a Zealot in the top left that's being a little bit annoying. He does grab that Oracle, I believe that's what that was, that just went down. And, you know, obviously tagging these units, that's very, very helpful.
Nice knurl here on these. He's actually going to recall some of these back that got hooked in there. And the Tempests that are knurled, they're going to be killed off.
That was really nice from Serral.
Yeah,
that was very, very efficient. That is the type of move you need.
And this is really where the game slows down, not just in movement, because both players have to be cautious, but in income as well. So when you see a unit picked off, it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
Pretty soon it's going to be impossible to make more stuff in this game.
Yeah. All right, so comes forward with the High Templar. Don't forget, the High Templar is very cheap, or like 50 minerals, 150 gas, right? So it's like, it's not the end of the world to lose one, but each one you lose, it's, you know, the map doesn't have that many resources left. And guys, we have seen games between these two where it really comes down to no resources in whatever units are left.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have this that often in StarCraft 2, but we do get these games where the map is mined out.
Yeah.
And it really does become a crazy situation. And it's important to remind everybody that the losing conditions are you lose all your buildings.
That's right.
We never see it happen because one player realizes, oh, I will eventually lose this fight, and I'll lose all my buildings. So
only when it's a real base race that's very close.
Yeah. Only then do we see it go down to that. But
yeah, very rare.
So Classics reclaim this base, is sitting back here. The 2 bases in the top left are being rebuilt, and it seems like Classic is going to try to maneuver up here and just deny this once more.
Yeah, I like the move. Like, you should come up here, deny this as many times as possible. Cost Serral as much money as you can. This is such a good move from Serral. Look at that. He picks off the mothership immediately. A very expensive unit, but also, you know, potentially the recall can be a little bit harder. Now, he picks off this hatch, and of course Serral doesn't have top left. So all Serral really has left now is a few little patches just laying around in various places.
Well, he's got some of the gold base, right? But that's pretty.
Yeah, there's barely anything there, though.
Oh, that's actually worse than I thought. Like, yeah, I thought he had a little bit more there.
Just over 1,000 minerals there.
So, yeah, it's these forgotten patches that are on the map that suddenly become vitally important.
Yeah.
I don't know how many there are for Protoss. I think I can see a couple on the mini-map here. We've got this base, which is functional, and then you have bases like this. But, you know, the truth is, oh my God, I love this.
And then, of course, this base tasteless.
Yeah. So this base is basically the most valuable position on the map, and I think Serral might be strained trying to protect it. I think Classic, if he was going to commit to this, probably should have had a little bit more here to try to defend.
Yeah. I like the idea of trying to sneak it in and try to make some zealots.
If those cannons just warp in, it's like, uh-oh.
And honestly, at this point of the game, though, I kind of like the idea of like sending some Zerglings around and killing like a cannon. By the way, Mapu's showing us right now, this cost efficiency for Serral has gone much better. He was down by 8K resources, and now he's only down by 2. So you can see his efficiency for the last few minutes has been madness. Like, he is, for the last few minutes at least, outplaying Classic.
So Classic, I think it's so complex. It's a funny waiting game, right? A lot of StarCraft, you just expand as fast as you can.
Yeah.
You get the resources as quick as you can. The game is slowed down to a very drawn-out chess game. Every move is really important here. You don't just want to throw a Nexus down willy-nilly and then they attack it and you've lost resources, right? So Classic's going to be very patient. He's going to move up again. He's going to try to have a really high-value attack. And Serral wants to come in here with a flank. He gets that carrier.
Yeah, he gets the carrier. He does eat some Psy Storms there. So did soften up those Corruptors a little bit and some of the Broodlords as well. It's a huge amount of Archons. Oh my gosh.
He actually cancels the hatchery there at the top left. Serral trying to save money. Serral, by the way, has more resources in the bank here, both in minerals and gas. A Zealot Warpin is actually denied. Okay, this could be where Classic, you know, could really get screwed here.
That was a great move. That was a great move from Serral to like depower everything real quick.
Yeah, it forces the recall. And the recall is kind of a resource of its own in this game.
You can't talk unless I say your name. But yeah, that was a very, very good move from Serral. But I mean, as soon as you clean that up and kind of remake your pylons, isn't Classic going to rotate up towards top left again?
He will, but it buys more time, right? The Nexuses have to be restarted. I mean, you could win this game as Serral just forcing Classic to make Nexuses a couple more times. And then they're not going to get the value out of that.
Yeah.
And he always has the right number of Lings to come in here and attack.
Yeah. It's pretty good at StarCraft, that's for sure. Okay, so has a couple High Templars here. That's going to make it almost impossible to break with Lings. You know, he might attempt to do it again. We'll see. The gold base is almost out of minerals. The only mineral patches that are left on Serral's side are in that top leftish area. Okay, and right there too. Thank you. And you know, it's hard for Classic, right, to decide. Okay, do we sit tight and mine out these bases and let Serral have another base, or do we keep attacking and then keep having to go back?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a complex, technical late game. By the way, nice snipe on that Tempest. I mean, everything, even the observers, anything you can get that you're forcing them to make in the game. By the way, energy becomes so important here because that's the only infinite resource, right?
Yes.
That's the only thing where you can get a value over and over and over again. A good Psy Storm, a good tag on their units for another setup for an attack. Yeah. Anything like that.
Yeah. So what I feel like Classic really should be doing here is just as hard as possible abusing his recalls. Okay, you have the recall ready, hit top left. Recall ready, hit top left, right? Because that's how you can save your base and maybe shut his down. And I feel like if you're not utilizing that to the best of your ability, I think he was already trying to do it when the Corruptors came in to get the mothership, right? It's like that's why you would put that there, right? Is you want that additional recall. But I think he does need to try to move towards top left and utilize recall when it's appropriate.
Okay, nice Psy Storm. He's going to take out that Infestor. This means the Oracle actually is saved. A tough situation normally for Protoss. A lot of times, you know, you get neural parasited and that's going to be it for your unit. Instead, he manages to pick that off. We don't have much more of the map left. Both sides have sacrificed using workers at this point in time and slowed their income down to a trickle in order to have a gargantuan army. Serral has this center upper left base. It's super resource rich. I think it's more resource rich than the two bottom right bases combined at this point in time.
I think you're right about that.
I might actually be wrong, but I think it's about slightly more, which matters a lot in a game like this. To top that off, Classic is not banking up anywhere near as much. Serral has an absurd amount of units, and it seems like he's trading more efficiently over time.
No, I think I was going to call them stats because it really does feel like the old days.
Stats for sure.
But I do think that Classic needs to be a little bit more careful. Like when he was just walking over there, his air units were like just needlessly too far out. Like you need to keep them back a little bit and not allow those fungals to come down so easily, right? You have to play that kind of footsies game with the feedback versus the infestors. Because Serral's cost efficiency, look, he's even now. He was down 8K, now he's even. That's
crazy.
That's wild.
Well, Classic had such a good late game. Now we're in this, actual end game here. And Serral, yeah, he traded so efficiently over time. I think he did the positional game really well, especially when he forced that recall back at the bottom right base where it was starting to get wiped out, especially when the Zealot Warpin was denied, so it forced a recall back, and that allowed him to really cement his position up here. I think Classic wants to try to push in and break and shatter this position. I just don't know if Serral's going to let him do it.
Now look, he's here with just Tempest and a High Templar, so he's looking for feedbacks, right? If you're going to try to abduct or you're going to try to fungal, he is there with those feedbacks with that potential Psystorm as well. Turns around now because he is being poked onto that more resource-rich base, but yeah, it does turn around again. I think it is imperative that he breaks top left because Serral's bank is way bigger right now, and he's been playing better for the last, 10 minutes or so. So Classic needs to get his act together and kill top left.
Yeah, well, I mean, the longer this game goes on, the richer Serral gets. At this point in time, Classic has to be decisive. I think the slow play has started to really become pretty painful for him. And I think, I'm not saying the Classic can just rush in there, right? Because Serral's got a really good setup. But yeah, the longer this base is being mined out, the worse it's going to be for him. I mean, we're talking about Serral at 8K right now. We've got a small number of lurkers. By the way, he can afford to lose these lurkers in a way that Classic can't afford to lose anything right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Serral definitely with a much bigger and better bank. So right now, Serral's starting to come in. He knows he's about to lose that base. So here he goes. He's going to try to move in here. The Corruptor is coming in, trying to get some snipes. They do some damage, but the Psystorm's kind of keeping them back still. Neural down there on an Archon will be useful. Throws a lot of Psystorms down. Time Warp now onto those Broodlords.
Insane amount of splash damage. Both sides have supply plummeting. Serral's banked up money is now cut in half, and it seems like Classic might be able to push through.
Oh, yeah, he really might. There's 50 Corruptors on the way right now. This is absolute madness. Those Archons going to be so incredibly important here to deal that additional splash damage. He's trying to chase at the moment, and he's bringing all of those Archons. Wow, he has actually more left over than I thought. 7 Archons right now.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 for a little bit, then more came up here.
There is going to be the most Corruptors we may have ever seen on the map here in a second. Oh my god. Look at this. He is making a few more Broodlords as well.
The Classic needs to flee back to the safest possible position. A big bungle here on the carriers.
Yeah, the Archons get up there. Some Psystorms are going off as well. This is absolutely ridiculous. And with those Broodlords attacking, a lot of the Archons are actually hitting Broodlings instead of Corruptors, and that could be deadly.
I think that could be game. I think you're right. They were not attacking the Corruptors. I thought they were initially, but yeah, the Broodlings basically tanked. Now the problem is the Corruptors can only hit air, obviously. They can ooze down buildings like we're going to see over here, but of what consequence is that going to be right now?
Well, I mean, I think you should probably try to utilize them, but it does have a cooldown.
There's almost no money coming in.
Yeah.
There's less money coming in than the start of a StarCraft 2 game. So it's crazy. Whatever you have right now, it is so important. And is it possible that the forced investment of the Corruptors, which in some ways have not much functionality at all, could allow Classic to concoct a win?
Let's look at the unit tab. Let's try to math this out. Okay, so 34 Corruptors. Their only target are buildings and 2 observers. Okay, 3 infestors, 3 lurkers, 12 broods.
So how do you get the broods, I guess, is the most important question.
4 stalkers. I think actually the most crucial units here are the 3 infestors, is my kind of gut feeling that those infestors are, like, whether or not they can actually hit some key spells, right? Because, like, this army can, like, I would say, you throw down a couple Psystorms, you throw your Archons forward, you blink with the stalkers, you might be able to kill these broods, right? Like, it is not completely unreasonable. I mean, it is a lot of broods, but I think the infestors, like that is something, that would be the thing that I would be very scared of here. I'd be like, okay, I gotta make sure I nail those.
Keep in mind, infrastructure, I don't know where exactly it is on the map, but Zerg can turtle, but Protoss could start to take out like all the Zerg's key tech here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything from the spawning pool all the way to the Greater Spire had to be remade. And I don't know how secure that is right now. Remember that all of the mobile defenses were sent over to that left base at the top. He's actually going to come in here and just kill these stray corruptors. Now, the Broodlords are moving. I think we could see a big wave on the minimap.
Ooh.
Protoss is going to have recalls here as well. I think that, what is most infrastructure at 12 o'clock?
You know what I think he wants?
Yeah, it is. That's everything.
Yeah.
So there's two key parts on the map. There's the expansion and then all of the infrastructure.
Okay, here's what I think should occur here. Because Serral, I think, is very likely to pull away with this game because he's mining this base. You need him to pull his army over. I think that attacking the center of his tech with everything.
Yeah.
And as his army comes, recall bottom left and dash up north.
I think that is
I feel like that's the only
solution.
way. I think that's the only way to really do this correctly.
It's his only path to checkmate.
Yeah.
So, what a weird game this is. I mean, this is just a 1 in a million game.
Yeah.
He's going to come up now. He's going to hit these bases. This will prompt the Broodlings. He should really shimmy these over to the right.
He's not showing it. Serral's so smart. He's making sure not to show until he's there. So you can't... Ooh, there's the fungal. That fungal is absolutely huge. Another one goes down. He's throwing down some Psy Storms here to try to help out. But the fungals are nonstop. He's killing so many extra units.
He's starting to move this over here. The fungals keep getting chained together. This is going to cause the army to thin out even more. It looks like he loses another Archon over here now. He's going to get the recall. The Templar and the Stalker are not in the mix.
That's okay. Now he just has to run completely to north with that army and see if he can get something done. Oh, he's going to lose those 2 units over there as well.
Serral taking a minute to adjust his headset.
Yeah.
The Lurkers are going to be here. Is there an observer with this? I actually think there's not.
Oh, you're right. He lost the observers.
Yeah.
Remember when I said the corruptors, 34 corruptors for 2 observers? Turns out it was a good trade.
He's going to instead try to run right underneath the Broodlords. But of course, we all know Archons have a hard time trying to maneuver around the Broodlords. I think this game is about to end here with a Serral win.
Oh my God, it's crazy. What a game we are having here. GG is called. Oh, now that's a crazy game, number 1.
That is insane, and we're just getting started.
Wow. And you can see, I mean, his water bottles are rolling everywhere. That's from
You're in the splash section.
An earthquake of amazingness. I think that there were so many moments in this game. I don't think that you can point to a single one. There was so much back and forth. They both really played magnificently, and I think it really showed very well as well, right? Like, Classic got behind against some of the aggression that Serral was showing early on, and then fought back and actually was in the lead and looked like he was going to be able to take it for a long time. But Serral just kind of out-tacticed him for a little bit.
As they say.
Yeah.
When we saw that attack at the infrastructure location at 12 o'clock, I think Classic had to pull his army further up out of the surprise attack point of the high ground there from the Broodlords, because that's what lost him the game.
The problem was the fungals, because he lost like half of his army almost, or like, 2/5 of his army, I would say, to those fungals, like just holding everything down. So, obviously that was a little bit of an error. Like, Serral did a great job. Cleaning up the observers was surprisingly important. Those 3 lurkers were not easy to break at that point. What a close game, though. That was, like, these two are so well matched right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about, but I don't think anybody could have wrapped their head around ahead of time how good of a match this would be, how unique and special it would be. It really came down to that top left base. Here was, I guess, the biggest crescendo of the match. It's where, after this, 37 corruptors were forced out. Protoss seemed to have no way to be stopped here, just pushing up, tearing through this position. The corruptors then won the air fight, but it was sort of this slow, sluggish Broodlord army against a nimble Archon Zealot army. He tried to do the positional play, the Broodlord surprise attack. Again, he was in a bad position at that 12 o'clock spot. did not allow him to recall everything, and in an attempt to salvage the situation, he slowly had everything picked apart.
If he had put a Zealot on high ground, I think there's a chance he wins that game. Like,
I think so.
One unit, or a Stalker, a Stalker can just blink away. Anything up there to spot, Serral did perfectly, because he had a lead Corruptor, and I was actually going to say, but I think you were talking at the time, he's going to see the Corruptor come in, he's going to know he's on his way, he's going to move to the right.
Yeah.
But Serral stopped the Corruptor where he could not see it.
Yeah.
Right? It was right above where that high ground is.
Very important moment there.
Like, the attention to detail with small things like this make all the difference. Beautiful
game. We're ready now to go into game 2. It looks like Serral stood up for a moment to stretch his legs. We're now going into this. It is a best of 5. If you're just not joining us, we have so much more to go. We just finished, what was that, a 43-minute game? Something crazy
something
like that.
Maybe 45 minutes or 47 minutes. I don't even know.
48, who knows?
Dude.
But the point is, the map was almost entirely mined out. These are two of the greatest late game players of all time. As we continue on in this best of 5, in the bottom right, in the red, he is Classic. His opponent in the top left, in the blue, he is Serral.
All right. I loved that game. That was one of my favorite games of this tournament so far, and for a lot of reasons. We saw Serral utilize some tactics that Rogue has been using a lot lately. I like that he utilized a couple of them together, of the Lingbane Hydro attack paired up with a mass circling drop. That was really, really awesome. He went into the mass lurkers and harassed all over the place. He got into that endgame where I think Serral is the best in the world, endgame against Skytoss. And, I think it took him a while, but he eventually outplayed Classic and was able to take it. It was awesome. But here's the thing, okay? For these two players, they just played that game, and they played a bunch of games that looked like that as well at DreamHack Dallas. Which player looks at that and says, I don't want to do that again? And I think the answer is neither of them. I think both of them recognize that they might have 3-4 games in this series that look just like that.
I mean, I love the way you put that, Artosis, because, I think neither player looks at that and says, well, I don't want to go to late game again.
They both could have won that, 100%.
Yeah, many moments there had a couple decisions been made differently, and one of them would have come out on top. So I do imagine we'll have at least one game that's going to be cheesy or rushy or all-in-y, just because that seems to be the nature of a best of 5. And, when people are really focused on trying to greed up, that is usually what would prompt somebody to do something kind of crazy and all-in-y, right?
Yeah. Well, so far all the aggression has basically been from Serral. I would be surprised in a best of 5 if we don't see something from Classic, though. I don't know if Serral wants to play that same style again, or he wants to go into a different type of way to play. Like, are you going to try to get aggressive, the Ling drops, try to hit a Baneling-based attack, that type of thing? Because you never know. Classic, now that you've seen Serral do that once, he's very good against that mode. If he identifies that that's happening, it's almost impossible to break him.
So Stargate Tech's going to come in here again. And all of this does, when I watch Classic, this all tells me he's going to do the same kind of macro build as before. I think this should be a fairly uneventful game for a little bit. We talked about the slow cook in the previous game, but it couldn't be truer. Once the game really picks up, it goes absolutely insane. But we'll see. Maybe we have a gateway explosion after some other kind of tech, and there is some, I don't know, like an adept timing or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, that would be more of a microwave than a slow cook. But I wouldn't mind seeing something like that mixed in occasionally. The thing is, both of these guys are really masterful in their defense. So, and I've definitely seen this in the past in StarCraft matches when you get two really strong players, and the player that does the tricky, cheesy thing loses, and then the other player does a tricky, cheesy thing and loses, and that type of thing, right? So you don't want to go too far or too deep on that.
So he's going to use the Oracle to pick off this first Overlord here, instead of trying to go out on the map. And this kind of, it looks like a good move, honestly, because you need to get 2 Oracles before you can really do anything. First blood there of the game. And, from here, it's going to be the Zerg massing up a couple of Lings. Now, we saw this in the last game. I guess it's going to happen again. He basically makes enough Lings. Oh, busted. Sees the Lings coming through here. Normally you have an unusual amount of Lings so that you can kill both the Nexus and surround the Adepts and punish the Protoss for having the Oracles on the other side of the map.
Well, some Lings trying to break in the front here. He is going to have to go up and make something here. Like, the Stalker is not going to be able to hold, that's for sure.
Meanwhile, these other Lings come down here, and the idea is
really
you know,
nice.
you basically have normally just one group of those Lings on a control group to harass, but he actually makes exactly 2 so that he can surprise him with the other attack over there. And the Oracles are going to move out again. He's actually rotated another set of Lings to hit this base again, showing a couple that are going to go over there onto the side. And I don't know how many Adepts are at that third, but it might be an ample moment to try to run in and do damage once more.
Yeah, I saw 2 there before, but maybe he's... Oh, yeah, he's warped in.
Okay, he's got enough Adepts.
Yeah, 5 Adepts will just crush those Zerglings. Oh, and Classic, I'm not sure what he was doing right there, but yeah, it does miss it, throws down that Stasis Ward, only 1 drone.
Pretty perfectly handled by Serral, to be honest. From here, we have the gateways coming up. Templar Archives is here along with the Forge. This is not going to be some kind of a timing. This is going to be a very, very slow development game.
I think you're right about that. We might see Classic try... Ooh, he wiggles in with the wings. Very nice. We might see Classic try to do one of these blink move outs where he brings the Stalkers. It's hard to imagine Serral losing to something like that, though. Serral just kind of running around with these Lings. He did slip them in, but now that they're in, what do they do?
Yeah, well, he's just getting the confirmation, right? He sees all these gateways coming up here. Obviously, Blink is going to be being upgraded as well, and so we're continuing to that macro development game. Certainly, it's going to be the same thing from the Zerg. We have even more drones being produced. Serral's up about 69 drones, about to break up into the 70s here as the rest of those hatch.
All right, well, he is trying to shade in, but the Lings stay right on top of those shades, so he does go ahead and cancel. Going to bring these 6 Adepts back home, perhaps, kind of leaving them mid-map, so still maybe some potential here for some pushing. Roach Speed is on the way. Hydralisk Den coming up as well as the Hive, so maybe into Lurkers here?
I think so. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, we got to remember that, you know, although this was a crazy macro game, there was this whole period of pushes from Serral to try to basically punt Classic out of this type of game and maybe into one where the defenses would eventually crumble and he would kind of, in a very Zerg swarmy way, overwhelm them. But Classic has proven to be so resilient. We've got hatcheries coming down now. I'm sorry, was there a Baneling's nest made? I don't think there was.
No, there's no Baneling nest.
So he's not going to try to do anything game-ending, so to speak. I mean, you know, when you get to Lurkers, a lot of times that's just to kind of push out and grow and defend. And so this is slightly different in the mid-game here from Serral, and that it's even more passive.
Yeah, he's getting into those Lurkers, which generally are you know, one of the better defensive units, but definitely we've seen them utilized for some strong offense as well. You know, the Adepts do see some Hydras walking around there. So with the Hive finishing up, yeah, Serral is getting into that endgame tech pretty quickly. So I think at this point the question is Classic going to try to attack? Because we don't see him throwing down Stargates or anything like that yet. And, you know, if he just sits here in kind of a defensive stance, which he is doing, like he's making a bunch of cannons, which is not necessarily a bad idea or anything when you see Ling Hydra running around. But if Serral's just kind of teching up towards that endgame and Classic is sitting here and, you know, making sure that he's safe from everything, it feels a little bit lopsided in Serral's favor.
Well, you know, it's funny. We don't get to cast a lot of games from Classic where he's not just like barely surviving in the mid game.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how it looks if they're both basically in a macro greed race. You know, it's one of these games where it's like they're trying to seize every part of the map and gobble it up. And I mean, this is probably going to be a game where the Protoss takes an uncontested 5th base before we've really even had any kind of a fight.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right about that. The Adepts, you know, they've been kept around for a very long time, but they really don't scale at this point, so I like that he's trying to get in and do a little bit with them. But, I mean, 3 drones here at almost 9 minutes against a 5-base Zerg is not really all that impactful. Both these guys up right around 90 workers each. Fleet Beacon coming up with another Stargate as well, as we get Classic's first-person point of view.
Yeah, going to be playing at this point in time, just continuing to grow. And this is a very tense game, by the way, because, you know, we're getting to that boiling point. We're getting to that point where Both sides are going to hit that max out, and it's going to be a slugfest here to try to take these bases on the map. This is a map where they're diagonally split on the map. So we have bases down here in the lower left and bases in the top right. But the only, I think, very contestable bases are the ones that you cut. If you take a line and cut it right through the middle, those are the ones that are probably going to have lots of fights over them.
Now, look at this right now, Tasteless. Like, there's a lurker attack coming in, and he's just very calmly holding it, and he's sending some army around for a flank. Now, there is another group of units going towards his 5th. Uh-oh, I'm actually really worried for Classic
God, it's
here.
way more than I thought.
Yeah. And look at this attack. He cancels out that 5th. This army, which I think was originally for a flank, it seems like he's not really deciding completely what he wants to do with it. It looks like it is going to counterattack now. Serral has a lot of units at the map and not a lot of units at home, so Classic's counterattack is going to get some damage.
Yeah, this is a pretty ugly moment here with these lurkers. The lurkers can't just scramble back. There's obviously no recall or anything like that. They're pretty slow, clunky units. We've got some links coming over here to surround some nice storms. The lurker's going to try to pounce in on this, but the links thin out.
Yeah, really good storms, but he does trap a bunch of those zealots as well. The zealots go over to the left and actually kill that Nidus and some of the drones that were waiting there. So he does get a bit of counter damage, but his 5th base was canceled and his 4th year is about to die.
Yeah, I love the counterplay from Classic. I've not gotten to see him quite do this because we never have games that are this slow and dramatic, but the counterplay looks really good. I mean, it's kind of hard for the lurkers to run around and burrow and keep up with these zealots that are so fluid in movement.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's really enough here, Tasteless. I'm feeling very bad about Classic's position right now. He's down to 3 base, which is like not too normal for Classic. I think there's still maybe a little bit of comeback potential here. He does have some of these later game air units to try to push things back.
So funny, he put that pylon there earlier to spot for that Nidus. I don't know that he's going to see it now. I think you might be right, Artosis. Serral has basically survived and looked really good, and Classic doesn't have a lot to work with right now. Now, keep in mind, Classic isn't too different from the last game in that there's just, a lot going on here where Serral's trying to hit from all these different angles, but if Serral can break him right now, Classic will be knocked out. We're going to go into game 3.
Yeah, and that would be a huge advantage there for Serral after such a close game down to the wire. Serral just kind of turned the aggression on. Classic was doing exactly what you suggested, which is take that 5th base. And then suddenly Serral was everywhere all at once. So fantastic to see from him. He kills another Nexus. Classic actually has a lot of Sapphire, I'd be calling this game right now. Losing your 3rd base and your 4th base, while Serral's taking even more bases himself, it doesn't seem like a position that can be won. But Classic has some crazy comeback potential because he's so good at defense. Also, these positions are very bottlenecky. It's like Zerg trying to ram it through a very narrow corridor, and Protosses love that. Between Archons and Psystorm, and you have Tempest here in the back, it's hard to make it work, especially versus lurkers. Oh! War Prism shot down as Serral comes in here to pounce at this top base. Yeah, this is getting out of control at this point. A lot of probes going down. He detects all the lurkers here, puts on his cloak, tries to move in. Time Warp goes down. Maybe he can kill off a bunch of this, but I mean, he's even pulled the remaining adepts he has into his army. Not looking very good. Yeah, you can see now the counter push coming up here from the bottom. He decides to go back. Classic's barely on 3 bases. He is so squeezed right now. Amazingly, he's actually kept his supply up. I do want to point out, and I don't know that Classic's going to be able to get out of this. He's gotten out of almost every other situation that we've seen historically in games like this, but if he does survive this, there's going to be a lot more resources in his vicinity that he can take up, which is really going to give him a lot more that he can do with. Yeah, don't forget that, right? Serral is spending a lot of his resources right now on this kind of late mid-game aggression. So if Classic were to somehow start holding his bases and forcing Serral back, yeah, maybe that's a way he can win, as his resources just kind of last longer. But look at this, a ton of lurkers, and not a lot of anti-air here. Okay, there's your anti-air. The Corruptor's flying up to help out. Ugh, it keeps getting worse and worse. Okay, Classic's gonna ditch this. This has worked in the past, but he has such little to work with back at home.
He's going to try to basically come through and puncture each of these bases.
Yeah.
Recall and kind of start from scratch. Supplies are absurdly high, especially considering what little Protoss has to work with. But if he can keep most of his important parts of his army alive, take these bases out, go back home, we could be in some kind of an immaculate reset in this game.
That's exactly what it would have to be, is immaculate. He has to just do this just about perfectly. He kills the top right, so that's a start. But he's losing his natural. He's not mining from his third. You know, his fourth is has nothing at it. I think it's not warped in all the way yet, maybe. Yeah, but it's definitely not looking too good at the moment. Maybe he can clean up some of this, go back home. But I feel like he hasn't done enough damage yet.
So he's going to pull back. And, you know, with base trade situations like this, what you've got to remember is that, like, both sides can sacrifice some of this. But the problem is when one guy has way more of the map, then they just have more they can give up, right? Because when the other side has to turn back around, and this is pretty unique for PvZ, where you kind of base trade a little bit and then retreat and reset. The question is, how much can Classic remake from this? By the way, he's only on 40 workers, which I guess is acceptable for how many bases he has. This is for 73 drones.
Yeah. At 15 minutes, it's not a great place for Protoss economy.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, a little recall goes off. Having a really hard time kind of dealing with everything. These Niduses over in that little corner are so annoying. You know a Zerg player made this map, Taste.
Yeah.
What else is that for over
sure.
there?
That's literally like, here, I'll put my Niduses here.
Yeah. May as well have written Nidus and put an arrow there.
So now we've got a game where I think Serral took some damage, but it's inconsequential. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we even see Serral take that very bottom left base.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
you
could quietly take that. Classic is so compacted in this position that he's probably forgotten that bottom left base even exists, because it's not going to play a role here for a while.
He's not thinking about that at all right now. I like how Serral's even putting a creep tumor where that Nexus goes. He's being so annoying at the moment. More probes being made for Classic. He is trying to rebuild. You know, he's kind of relying on his great late-game army control and the cost efficiency. This is a really strong defensive army that he has. You know, it's hard to get in there with Corruptors. He's just got so many Archons. You know, the cost efficiency is closing up a little bit.
Yeah, it is a situation where Zerg is just banking money now. Down to 75 drones, by the way. There were some losses there. I think there's some Zealots attacking the top right, but the main push is going to come in over here. Yeah, so he might actually lose that. But the Lurkers can push in over here, and Protoss has nothing to defend.
Yeah, really, it's very annoying to clear up something like that. You need detection, and you need units that are not ground units. And that's very difficult to do. Now, he throws down the Time Warp. Look at this. He's actually targeting everything down pretty quickly here with these Tempests. Just doing a ridiculously good job. I can't believe Classic's even still in this game, let alone pushing through.
It's insane.
It's insane.
I mean, he's still making this work. He's going to try to push through here with his Death Ball. Serral's going to try to bait out as many storms as he can. All Serral needs to do is basically shut this down, and he could win the game.
But can you shut that down? that's the question. Classic kills another base. Classic is barely mining.
Yeah.
Barely mining right now. His third base is being shut down. He doesn't have a fourth. You know, his natural has a few probes mining. That's about it. But he is still just marching forward, trying to make this into a game. Well, he is already making it into a game, which in and of itself is crazy.
He's just going to push right into the natural. I guess he can just kind of roam to wherever the Serral is going to allow him to go. Of course, Serral is in a very tough spot now, because if he tries to run in here and shut this down and it backfires, the game will promptly end with Classic and a victory. And once you get up the ramp into the main, this is a nightmare for the Zerg to deal with.
Okay, well, throws down a lot of Psy Storms here as everything is attacking, and the Broodlords and Fungal's doing a fantastic job. Time Warp goes down, but it is not likely to be enough. He throws down a recall and will save some of these Tempests, but almost everything else died. I think he only saved some Tempests.
I think Serral just comes in. Yeah, GG. I was going to say, I think he just comes in now, smashes this position. And, you know, that was a very different, very unique game from game one. And there's something incredible about it, because Protoss had so little to work with. Never got a lot of bases, but managed to just keep his army alive. And I think on some level, Serral was patient enough to just let the Archons get slightly isolated. Because really, it's the air army is what's destroying everything, but the Archons are what stop you from killing it. Because the Archon splash damage basically denies the Corruptors from coming in. There's not many more units that are more clumpy than Corruptors. And so it's Serral up 2-0. But man, close games.
Close games.
Close games.
I think Classic still definitely has a chance in the series. Like, you can see just how tenacious he is. And Serral just kind of caught him there. Classic was trying to take that 5th base without really having done much in the game. Maybe that's a step too far. Maybe no matter what Serral's doing, you need to you need to be a little bit more active than just making your 5th Nexus, right? This isn't SimCity. This is StarCraft 2.
Right. Well, it's funny because the game was so quiet for so long. We have a lot of macro games in StarCraft 2, but yeah, that was a 5th base before a real fight from the Protoss. I think Classic had interesting ideas with the counters, but the Lurkers just blasted their way through bases so much faster than Zealots and Archons can do so. And, once you have like even 2 or 3 Lurkers, the Zealot Archon can't really fight a base, right? Due to the way that they distribute damage, the way they line up. It's really easy to get lined up shots there. But Serral kind of a genius at the drawn-out game, when it really turns into a chess game on the StarCraft board of how do we position armies, when do we want to move the pieces back or when do we want to move forward here. And although I think Classic, in some ways I'm almost more impressed with it because he was doing so much with so little, it was Serral that managed to get himself into a position that was virtually impossible for even Classic, one of the greatest late-game players of all time, to recover from.
Yeah. Really fantastically done, but I think Classic will keep his cool, and I'm actually hoping for another big mind-out macro game once again. And I tell you what, I'm going to feel a little bit ripped off if this doesn't go to Game 5.
I hope we can have Classic win here. I'm actually a little bit worried Serral might just be a few percentage points good enough in a game where both sides play perfectly. So, like, those percentage points actually matter. Yeah. It's not up in the air. It's not too close to tell. It's like, actually, they're so good that, one guy's level, 98, the other one's level 100 at this. And in this case, the way the damage and the back and forth goes, it is the level 100 guy that wins every time. In the top right, in the red, he needs to win 3 games in a row. It's Classic. He was going to win last year's Esports World Cup, and then he lost to Clem. He's here to do it again. It is Serral.
I like that. He was definitely going to win until he lost. So, Classic here. Not going to be falling back on any cannon rush or anything like that. We did see that a little bit from him in Dallas. But, going to send his probe across here on ley lanes. And, I don't know. I want to actually see Classic basically do the same thing. But 5 bases right away is like a bridge too far. You know what I mean? It's like, make your 4 bases, just roam a little bit more so you know what's going on completely, and then make your 5th base.
Well, it feels like there's some moment where you do have to at least prompt the Zerg into defending or attacking or engaging with you, and I think Serral may be the very best Zerg in the whole world at this, at kind of handling the macro game, the SimCity game, the development game, like you were talking about. Yeah, is this a city builder game or is it StarCraft? Well, Serral, when you don't mess with him, he is sort of the ultimate machine of production, map control, setting up positions that later on are going to be almost impossible to deal with. And I think we might need to see a more engaged Classic. Yeah. I think most games, because of Classic's reputation, he's actually used to people trying to go for the jugular in the mid game, and he basically fights them off, defends, he dodges, he bobs, he weaves, and then suddenly the Zerg is overextended. The Zerg's overexposed, bases are poking out, and he starts to roam the map, and he starts to clear areas, he shuts stuff down. And it was such an eerily quiet game. I think Classic went, okay, I guess I just keep expanding, right? Is that what we do here? I take another base. And that's really where he let Serral set up everything he needed.
Yeah, and Serral did a great job from there. Yeah, I think you're basically right, is that Classic plays in a lot of these games, he leans just slightly more defense because of how many Zergs don't want to play this late game like Serral does. And really, I think the thing that Serral is the best at and has been the best at for a long time, he like does the line between greed and safety perfectly. Like, no one does it as well as he does, where it's like you're simultaneously making as much economy as you can while maintaining safety so that you can't be killed. And that's like the hardest thing to do in StarCraft, is maintain that line of the optimization versus the safety. And it's just, it's wonderful to watch.
It truly is. This game, predictable in the early game. We've got the Oracles. We actually have 2 gates being made here, so hold on. I think he normally went for only 2 gates before taking a third, unless I'm misremembering.
Oh, he went for the 3-gate play.
Yeah, he went for 3-gate here instead of 2-gate. I was about to say this is exactly the same, and then I looked up at the production tab. So it is a variation of this.
Yeah, he did this against Rogue earlier in this tournament, I believe it was. And he likes to go 3rd Nexus and then attack with like 8 Adepts or so.
Yeah, and it feels like there's some kind of a window of time here where the Zergs maybe let their guard down.
Yeah.
There are moments in the game where if you played enough, you just know that you're so safe and pretty much nothing happens here, or it doesn't make sense, and it feels like he has this different rhythm to try to approach here. And I don't believe that the 8 Adepts are really intended to do a lot of damage. I think it's intended to stop drones from being made, and then you go back.
It's a very tricky timing, because it's like too late for rush, too early for timing, just right for Unga Bunga.
From Bunga. Melee weapons being made here.
Yep.
For Serral.
Very trendy in ZVP lately.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the Oracle's going to fly in. We will see those Adepts move relatively soon if he's doing the same build, which I believe he is. Oh, okay, a Twilight coming up before we see a move out. Could this actually be a Glaive build? I mean, I don't think it's going to be. I think he's just going to move out with the Adepts, but I could be wrong there.
I mean, the Forge always feels like an investment for later, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, who knows? And look, sometimes it's the appropriate moment to try to do something almost counterintuitive to change the narrative, because maybe the narrative that's running in Serral's head about how these games nice snipe there.
That was a great catch.
That's a big deal. Maybe the narrative that's in his head is going to be so different. He's sending out what are, I think it's about 11 Adepts here. And he's going to try to come in and do that damage. This is not any kind of all-in. There's tech behind this, but it is going to do a lot of damage. He's going to take out the Spore. He's going to run to safety. Beautiful block here. Forces a cancel. And a lot of the Zergs lately have gotten so good with these Evo blocks to just shut down any of the shenanigans that can occur otherwise. Now the Shades are going to get through.
Ooh.
But
yeah,
he
does cancel that, though. And he's going to go ahead and recall as the Roaches are trying to come out. This was not going to go his way. So he's going to need those at home to help defend against anything incoming. But I feel like Serral blocked that really, really well.
Okay, so the Lings are going to try to counterattack. Serral going up to the 4th base. And, you know, we talked about Classic maybe needing to engage a little bit more. Well, that's exactly what we're getting here. The Lings are going to wrap back around, and it's going to be back to business here. Storm coming, Blink on the way, Robo started. This time it is Hydra Bane again. You know, the previous game we saw the Hydra Den into Lurkers.
Yeah.
With Banes, you know, when it was time for Banes, I don't even remember, but it was not at this phase of the game. It came much, much later.
He's getting ready for that. Storm and Blink both on the way. You know, if you are going to have a lot of Adepts, like if he was going for Blades or something, obviously Bane is going to be such a strong counter against that. But again, if Classic, and here's the thing, here's what's really different about this game. Classic is being super, super active between the Oracles and these Adepts. So I feel like he's much more likely to figure out exactly what Serral's plan is. And if he can figure that out, like, his defensive setups are amazing. Like, you're just not likely to break him. Oh, man, right before playing, too.
Yeah, that's rough. Takes him out. The Lings are going to glide through here. He's going to see exactly when the 4th base is set up. Sees the Templars there in the back. Double checks. There's 4 Templars. The Robo starts the first War Prism here. And it's going to be Serral just covering his side of the map right now. He's going to be going up into his 5th base. We talked about maybe a 4th base being a little bit too soon here. Really nice surround by these Lings here. These Adepts getting absolutely no value. Almost all of them maybe almost all of them destroyed. One lives to tell the tale.
No one's even going to believe him. You know, warping in a lot of Stalkers right now. He does have a fair amount of Psystorm ready as well. That fourth base coming up. Of course, Serral here adding in some more Zerglings. He's gotten quite a few Hydra upgrades, but I don't think we really have Hydras. He's really more on, like, Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager. Which, like, I'm trying to remember. Like, I remember Shin using a style like this several years ago.
I remember that,
yeah. Really, really good effect, and I feel like we don't see it really all that often, but generally you are going to see an attack line up from this. But honestly, if Classic's going to come up here and attack, and this has been something popular from him as well, is to walk out with the Stalkers and some High Templars and go, I don't think this attack works.
Yeah, well, he has to have the most godlike storms ever.
Yeah.
And the Banes are going to come in here, and I mean, with nothing to really take, I mean, the connections are going to be huge.
Okay, he does save some in that prism, which is really important, but yeah, the surround here on these Stalkers is just so painful. He drops out those High Templars, throws out some very good storms there for sure. Gonna walk away from those Biles.
I love the Ravager in this combination because it basically makes it impossible to warp in. And another complete wipe out there of the army.
Yeah, yeah. Really was not ready for that.
You could see the intensity in Classic's face there. I mean, the walls are closing in. It's becoming an unrealistic game to where Protoss can't really do that much. The Stalker Templar army, it's interesting, but I mean, Serral basically has the counter. You've got Lings that surround, Banes that connect.
Yeah.
You've got the 3 Ravagers, so you can gun down that Warp Prism. No warp-ins allowed. And all you can do is try to recall what you have. And even when you recall, when there's this much stuff out, the damage is insane.
Yeah, the only counterpoint I really have to that, because I do think that Serral's putting out a really nice game here, is that Classic is on 4 bases. He has like 5 High Templars right now. And, you know, you can defend a lot with that. And like 4 base is the magic number for Protoss, where on 4 bases, like, yeah, we can get a huge army. It can be really efficient. It's not that hard to defend, right? It's when you take like that 5th base, it starts to get a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit further out there. But yeah, I feel like this is still a recoverable position for Classic, especially when you look at like that last game, right? He was on like 1 to 2 mining bases for the longest time, and he still stayed alive against like a 6-base Serral.
Man, I'm getting so worried here for Classic. You know, we were talking about how he's the master of defense, how he doesn't die no matter what gets thrown his way. But we haven't seen him bleed out this much. You know, he's
lost a lot of units.
He's lost a lot of stuff. And Serral is, you know, about a minute out from maxing out. We've got the 3 Stargates coming. He doesn't have that kind of air defense that really makes him untouchable, and he's able to roam on the map. So this is going to be a tough couple minutes here for Classic.
He's taking a 5th, and he's staying kind of forward with his army. You know, this type of more forward play is very different from what we saw in that previous game, so that is going to allow him to control what's going on a little bit better. Of course, a very different looking game overall. Quite a few lurkers up there in a defensive stance. We have that Hive Tech up. Tempests are being started. More Stargates are going to be finishing here as well. So I think right now it's like Serral still has some opportunities to deal some damage here. But I think Classic has what he needs to kind of stop everything and get into that air army and make one of these big games again.
Could be. We got to see how he handles this attack.
Yeah,
it's going to be one of these drive-by drops. He's probably going to drop some of the stuff over here, maybe even go to the main with the rest. No, a full-on drop over here into this base. The ground army is trapped in the middle. It's not defending any of these locations. A big link counterattack comes up. It sees the Templars and decides to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that didn't do as well as I thought it would. I actually, seeing how much was in those Overlords, I kind of felt like he had a decent chance to maybe pick off the Nexus. But between the shield battery, the Immortal that was there, yeah, that wasn't as successful as I thought it would be. But here comes another attack. This one might be a bit better. Some Psystorms going down on the Lings and Lurkers.
It feels like all of these attacks should have hit at the same time instead of one by one. It feels like the Protoss is playing an easier game of whack-a-mole. And so, yeah, nothing really sticks in that attack.
Well, what's happening is Serral is making problems for stats, and problems have answers, right?
Right.
You got to make a dilemma, man, where you're hitting both locations, and no matter what Classic does, he's going to take damage.
Yeah, you got to force him to give up something, and it's possible that he actually has an imbalance in his defenses, and he gives up both even. That's how you win. Instead, it's like, we're going to attack here, and then here, and then here, and then so Serral, you know, it's like a Mr. Miyagi wax off, wax on, and he just fucking blocks each one of them.
Yeah, it's all wax off here for Classic.
Another attack over here, and it's just denied.
Yeah, he's throwing down the lurkers. He's trying to find a place.
Look at this one that gets up here.
Sneak by, but Classic's on top of it. He sees it. That's the most important part, right? Pull those probes away. You can clear out a lurker in a little bit.
And, you know, he's feeding into him. It's at the point where Classic is now maxed out. I think we're really entering another part of this game. Yeah. A part where now the air fleet's here. It's ready to go. Protoss didn't lose anything key. I mean, you want to know what you need to lose as Protoss for Zerg to be winning this? You have to lose Nexuses. You have to lose infrastructure. You have to have Zealots and Archons walking into lurkers and getting obliterated. We don't have that. Instead, we've got a lot of Tempest. We have that Mothership, which is always a signal that it's in the Protoss's turn in the game.
Yeah, well, we have another drop coming up here. This one is much more lurker heavy, and that makes recalling very dangerous.
Right.
So I am a little bit nervous because he is hitting 2 locations at once. This is more what you want to do. We have lurkers in that picture-in-picture hitting, and look, he is going to split up the drop. So that does make the recall a little bit more realistic.
Exactly, and so he can drop these lurkers. Oh, he's got to burrow them. Is he going to burrow those lurkers?
Gosh. Well, there's a lot going on right now. Classic with the counterattack saying, okay, I guess I'll lose my natural and maybe part of the main base. He did do a big warping up there, though. He's attacking this base for Serral. He's going to be able to pick up this hatchery. The next hatchery is so close, I imagine he's able to get that one as well.
Yeah, he takes the hatchery out. The infrastructure in the main's being taken out here, though, as well. Both sides are trading out. Remember, Serral has much, much more of the map. Second Nexus gone. In the main, the Templar Archives goes down.
Ooh.
This Nexus, these probes could just be wiped. If this is ignored, oh, okay, he takes it out.
All right, a lot of workers on both sides are falling, but Serral's economy is still very, very good. A Ling attack here on the third base of Classic. Just everything seems to be on fire for him right now. Losing multiple Nexuses in the last few minutes and only killing 1 hatchery of Serral's.
Serral is the god emperor of the base trade. He's just hitting everything everywhere. And the fact that the main is unpowered now really cripples the Protoss. We now have a supply blocked Classic here. He's going to recall into the main, but it's to take out a couple of lurkers and Lings.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the lurkers are over here. Artosis, I think this game may be over.
Yeah, it's getting very close to that right now, but we know that Classic will not leave until there's 0 chance remaining. He still has a very decent army, but I don't know that he can pull his economy back together. Just Serral has been relentless, attacking everywhere, over and over again. A new Nexus starts up in his natural. He has quite a few cannons here, so this will slow it down, and he should be able to save the space with his main army.
He's barely alive. This is the only functional base is here at 12 o'clock. Classic scrambling to get to it. It's 137 to 86 supply. Classic cannot make a probe, anything. He's going to try to come back around. This one lurker's going to run in there. I actually love this, where you just run one lurker in here, and it's like, if you don't deal with this, all your workers are gone.
Well, that is going to be a bit of a problem. Those are not going to be able to mine for a little bit. You see those drop overlords over there. Going to come in and clean up these areas. So, I mean, it's good that he's cleaning things up. This is step 1, right? Classic keeps his cool. He cleans things up. He tries to come back. But it's feeling more dire every moment.
I think this is basically impossible for Classic to recover from. I mean, Zerg literally has the whole map. There's, infrastructure has just been reinstated. Classic now has 8 supply worth of the space that he could make things in. Serral's maxed out and pocketing money. He's got ambushes set up all over the map. I think we're going to see Serral come in here and go for the killing blow.
All right. I think you're right. There's really just not much left. The thing is, even if he doesn't go for the killing blow, I don't think that Classic can really, like, he has to go on the offense, right? Like, he has to go and attack and try to kill all Serral's bases. And then you just counterattack.
Well, I think there's
no answer.
No way to recover, right? I mean, a world where he could take this. I mean, Serral would have to overextend so many times over. Yeah. The few remaining probes are going to get wiped out. It's 19 workers to 81 Artosis.
Yeah. It's Serral. I think he's done enough to do it, man, to qualify into that next round. Just a beautifully played series from him. We definitely had some close moments, some great moments from both players, but Serral, mixing up his strategies a little bit, showing more aggression than I think a lot of people thought he would. Yeah, which I actually think in this current metagame is a very good choice. We saw how strong Classic is with this type of army, and I think you know, getting some of that earlier aggression out, getting some damage is a good way to play it.
Feel bad for Classic here in the last few moments of this game. Good storms here on the Corruptors, but you know, Serral could lose many more and still close this out. GG, Serral defeats Classic 3-0.
Yeah, a very, very strong victory for Serral. Definitely one of the favorites here going into the EWC final couple days.
Beautiful series. I liked each of the games. We talked about Classic needing to be out on the map, maybe be a little bit more active, and he sort of did that, but the problem is that Serral shut it down so hard that suddenly the part of the game where Classic is really the best at, the mid-game to late mid-game, he was so squishy, so punishable, that all Serral had to do was hit multiple locations at once, and Classic fell apart.
He did. You know, Classic defended the first several attacks super, super well. I think it really started to go downhill, though, when he let the Lurker drop go in his main and just counterattack.
Yeah.
Because then Serral was attacking actually 3 different locations, and Classic only killed 1. And that's not a good enough trade.